the season of evil.
Hey up, it's Steve from that old Yorkshire gig. Some Lord of the Rings news. This from That Park Place. John F. Trent, working himself to death. Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power showrunner claims Season 2 was reviewed by Tolkien Estate to assure the story adheres to the legendarium. That was a snort of derision. Anyway, let's have a look at this article. If I can find the bugger. Where have I put it? There it is. There we go, from That Park Place. Right, there we go, John F. Trent. There's Sauron and teeny tiny Galadriel. As we all know, they should stick a beard on the Mecha dwarf. But anyway. The Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power showrunner J.D. Payne recently claimed that the show's second season was reviewed by the Tolkien Estate and the team of Tolkien scholars to assure the story adheres to the legendarium. What does the Tolkien Estate know about, Tolkien and the legendarium? Not a lot. With the death of Christopher Tolkien, it's kind of just gone to rack and ruin, hasn't it? Not that I'm a Tolkien expert or anything. And there's J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay, as I said, to look like young men who go into schools with weapons. I'm sorry, they do. Anyway. A post to the official, and as I said, the bad robot trainees mystery box ruining franchises. That's all they know. There's not an original idea anywhere from the bad robot alumnuses. A post to the official Amazon MGM Studios account on X states, source to screen, showrunner J.D. Payne revealed the season overview is reviewed by Tolkien Estate and a team of Tolkien scholars to assure that the story adheres to the legendarium. Oh dear. Legendarium is, what people describe as basically Tolkien Canon and Tolkien lore. They call it the legendarium. People, places, events, stuff like that, history, blah blah blah. And there's the X. Just call them tweets. Just call them tweets. Anyway, it is a bald-faced lie, says John. It's a bald-faced lie on a number of levels. Clearly, the show does not adhere to the legendarium in any regard, whether that be the story, the characters, or even the locations. Don't forget, the time and all that. The only thing the show has in common with Tolkien's legendarium is the name of the show and the names of the characters. Nothing else is in common. For example, one of the show's directors claims that Galadriel was in love with Sauron while he was in his Halbrand form. Charlotte Brandstrom told Nerdist, yeah, Galadriel obviously was in love with Halbrand. She was very attracted to him. It's like girly stuff. They love this stuff, don't they? Shipping. So when Sauron changes shape, Sauron knows this because he gets into her head. So he knows what she's thinking, what she's feeling. So when he immediately takes Halbrand's shape, Son's beard, I think when we saw him as Halbrand, he was like, he had like, Aragorn type whiskers, didn't he? Anyway, but in this final episode of season 2, when we see he was like clean shaven, he looked completely different. But anyway. So when he immediately takes Halbrand's shape, he completely destabilises her because that was her weakness. She's married. She had very strong feelings for the king, for Halbrand. Oh, I was King of the South or something, wasn't he? Or whatever. King of the Southlands or whatever they called him. Even though he wasn't. For Halbrand, obviously in the first season, Brandstrom added, Halbrand does not exist in Tolkien's legendarium, let alone does Galadriel love him. He's a complete original invention by Amazon MGM Studios, so that's, in itself, not sticking with the legendarium. Plus, Galadriel's married to Celeborn, even though we haven't seen him. She's Elrond's, or she will become Elrond's mother-in-law, because Elrond will marry Galadriel and Celeborn's daughter. But yet we saw Elrond give her a big kiss on the lips. Obviously, at that time, he didn't know she was going to be his mother-in-law, but they could have found another way. He was doing it so he could pass her, the thing that she could unlock her bonds. But they could have found another way to do it, couldn't they? Just a big hug had they done. But anyway, Nevertheless, Amazon MGM Studios recently trotted out Corey Olsen, who calls himself the Tolkien Professor, where he claimed there was no such thing really as canon in Tolkien. Tolkien's ideas were ever evolving. Not according to Tolkien, they weren't. I mean, he does his letters and stuff like that, doesn't he? And, you know, his appendices where he just explains everything. But again, I'm not an expert, so there we go. I know bugger all about Tolkien. I know his face. What was he? Is he Corey Olsen? Maybe he is, I don't know. But he looks familiar. He looks like a wrestler, doesn't he? He looks like Bo Dallas. Anyway. And I presume that's the video of it on X. I'm not going to play it because I don't want to. Right, so which is it? Were they assuring the show adhered to canon based on a review from the Tolkien estate who know nothing about Tolkien, particularly Simon Tolkien and Tolkien scholars, or is there no such thing really as canon in Tolkien? Regardless of their hypocrisy, yes, there is canon in Tolkien. It's obvious, you know, it's one of the most canonistic, is if that's a word. What's the word? Works. That's what I'm trying to. Works. One of the most canonistic works out there. It's brimming with canon and law. Regardless of their hypocrisy and contradiction, the purpose of this show is clear. It is to pervert and subvert Tolkien's work in an attempt to make it serve the left, or at very least ruin the Lord of the Rings. They don't think they're doing that, though. Yes, they're serving the left because, you know, entertainment industry is generally left-leaning. I hate left. I hate the terms left and right. I hate labels. You've got to put labels on everything, haven't you? Just be a good person. Don't be left or right. Just be a good person. But anyway, by the by. And I don't think they don't think they are ruining Lord of the Rings. They think they're making it better. They've said themselves, haven't they? They want to essentially write the book that Tolkien never did. They think they're as good at what they do as Tolkien was. But they're not. By a long shot. Anyway, novelist Isaac Young explains that modern Hollywood exists to make stories that specifically serve to push the left's politics and to increase its own power. Hollywood exists to reward its friends and punishes its enemies, he says. And its products are emblematic of that fact. Hollywood does not exist to entertain you anymore. It is an organ of a greater international apparatus that has declared war on the native populations of the West. I kind of agree with that. I think that's true. I think the West is it's spiralling into oblivion, to be completely honest, because it's losing its identity, and I don't want to get all political and stuff like that, but it is. Anyway, he then used The Last Jedi's depiction of Luke Skywalker. As I said, just be nice. Just be a nice person. Be good to other people. That's all you need to do in life. That doesn't mean other people are going to be nice to you, but, you know, at least you can say I've got the high ground, so to speak. But anyway, he then used The Last Jedi's depiction of Luke Skywalker as an example. Quote, making Luke Skywalker feed at its breast. And that's where he went and got the green milk from the Thalasiren, is that what they call them, on Actor. Hate that film. I bloody hate that film. Even Mark Hamill hated it, but, you know, he was an actor, or he was, before he went mental. And he had to do his job, didn't he? Anyway, making Luke Skywalker feed at his breast was not a poor decision of a worse screenplay. It was a deliberate choice, backed by corporate executives, directed, written and shot by industry leaders, funded with the backing of millions of dollars, packaged into a movie called Star Wars: The Last Jedi, and subsequently broadcast to the entire Western sphere. Make no mistake, this was done with the same spite of a child ripping a toy out of a younger infant's hands and declaring it to be their own. Essentially, yeah. And to make sure it would be their own by shitting all over it. I'm guessing that, because it won't be spitting, will it? You could have said spitting, because it would have the same effect, wouldn't it? But anyway, by doing that, by soiling it, which is what they're doing. But yes, that is a good analogy. I like that. I like that analogy. There we go. So I'll read it again. Make no mistake, this was done with the same spite of a child ripping a toy out of a younger infant's hands and declaring it to be their own. And to make sure it would be their own by soiling all over it. Yes. That's what they do. They take beloved franchises and purposefully, but not in their opinion, they think they're improving them, but they purposefully improve them by probably deliberately antagonising, what they call die-hard fans, or what they'd call toxic fans, knowing that the changes they make will really, really annoy the hardcore fans. Toxic. And there's his tweet, so there we go. He then concluded, what has happened to Star Trek and every media franchise is not the result of incompetence or coincidence. It's not a coincidence that all these franchises have been decimated, from Star Wars to Star Trek to Doctor Who. What's next? Even Babylon 5 to a certain extent, the Lord of the Rings. Anyway. I forgot what I want now. It's not the result of incompetence, though today's writers are thoroughly incompetent compared to writers of the past. Although, there are still good writers out there, and there still are good shows. But I think sometimes the hands are tied by, their overlords. Often writers are told what to write and how to write something. They're not writing because it's a job, essentially, and it's their job to write a script. And they'll be told, the producers will say the show and say, we've got this list of story ideas for each episode. You go away and write, and this is what we want to happen in this episode. Such and such will do this, such and such will do that. You fill in the blanks, but make sure it adheres to our, ideology. So that's what they do. But I'm not completely absolving the writers of any blame, because obviously there are writers that are, completely in on it. But anyway, it's not shades of grey and all that. It's not black and white, is it? It's the result of a seething artistic class that wishes to pervert all film, TV, and literary I can't say that word. Literary achievements, because I can't roll my R's, you see. Literary achievement for the sake of applauding themselves and humiliating their enemies, and in this task they have unequivocally succeeded. The only thing to do, the only way to win, is to step back and let them fester on the dunghill they have created for themselves. He finished. And there's Celebrimbo looking at a candle. What do you make of Payne's claims that the second season was reviewed by Tolkien scholars and the Tolkien estate, so it was in accord with the legendarium? I'm sure he believes that. I am sure he believes that. I don't have comments on this, do they? No, they don't. I'm sure he believes that. As I said, I'm sure they believe they are making a better product than what Tolkien ever could. I honestly think that's what they believe. But they are deluded, and again, I'll say it again. I'm not going to say it again. I'll get into trouble. Yeah, I think they think they're doing good in the world by bringing all this diversity. Diversity's fine, but it depends where you use it, doesn't it? To be completely honest. But anyway, yeah, it's nonsense, isn't it? Essentially, what it boils down to, they're talking out of their bottoms. And the Tolkien estate knows bugger all about Tolkien. It knows more than me. I know bugger all about Tolkien, but I'm not part of the Tolkien estate or claiming to be a Tolkien professor. I'm just a casual fan. I've got the books, but never read them. I've started. As I said, I'm not a fan of Tolkien's prose. I find it hard work. I like easy to read stuff because I'm a simple man. I like things that read it, that flow. And what they call it, iambic pentameter, something like that. When you're reading something like that. He walked up the cliff and then he fell off. That sort of stuff. I'm rambling again, aren't I? Talking about my childish reading skills or needs. But anyway, they're talking out their bottoms. Season 2, yes, maybe it was reviewed by the Tolkien estate and Tolkien scholars. quote. I mean, they had a Tolkien scholar, a proper one, you know, the Tolkien scholar who advised on Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings, and then they fired him because essentially he said he didn't agree with what they were doing, essentially, didn't they? So they fired him. But anyway, so there we go. We'll leave that there. We will leave that there hanging. That's proper Lord of the Rings, isn't it? Not this Rings of Power nonsense. But I've said I do enjoy watching the Rings of Power. I find it oddly fascinating. But maybe it's just car crash telling. I can't take my eyes off it. Right, we will leave it there. And I'll just say it again. Stick a beard on it and make her a dwarf. I'll have to add that. No, I won't. Never mind. We'll leave it there. Right, don't forget, like and subscribe, share the videos, drop a comment, hit the notification bell if you've subscribed already. And all that stuff. And wherever you are, look after each other. And until next time, I'll say there.